Welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated to CBS's Big Brother Season 22 All-Stars. Now, just like my previous videos, I'm going to be doing a review and recap of the most recent episode of Big Brother, and then give a hand signal going into live feed updates. So, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Devon sadly leaving the Big Brother house by a vote of 5-2. Now, we as the audience knows that those two votes came from Danny and Nicole for Devon to stay, but everybody else still left in the Big Brother house are wondering where those votes came from, and Christmas's BS radar is going off the charts when talking to Nicole, and Nicole is denying that she was one of the votes to keep Devon in the game. So now Christmas cannot trust Nicole or Danny whatsoever, and then there's some distrust between Danny and Nicole as they're both lying to each other about the same thing, about voting to keep Devon in the game, and then we have some more mistrust between them because Nicole is wanting Danny to use her replay power on Memphis so he can play in this week's HOH to give them the better odds instead of like Kevin or David winning. But Danny is going back and forth, wavering back and forth. And this was like a good portion of this episode. It was like the first 25% of this episode was wondering whether Danny was going to use her replay power this week or not. Well, we learned in about after the question was posed, we learned in 2 minutes that she did use it on Memphis, and Memphis was going to get to play in this week's HOH comp. I guess this was to show that there was some dissension, some lying, some mistrust that's happening within the committee already, but it kind of was just okay, cool. The editing was just a little bit jumbled up there because it was will she use it? Yes, she will. The answer came really quickly after the question was posed. But now let's go into this week's HOH comp called Going for the Green. Now, on Thursday's episode, we got a news from Dr. Will that there was going to be both power and prizes up for grabs, and that we'd be seeing a lot more of him. We have not seen a lot more of him. I mean, not in this episode. Maybe he makes an appearance or helps out a lot in the OTEV episode, which we will see on Wednesday, but ultimately, he wasn't anywhere in this one, and the HOH comp was a bit of a dud in my opinion. What you had to do was putt either for power or prizes or both because you get 3 balls, and if you got the lowest number on either one, you would win. And so you could win 10K and HOH, which I felt was a little why be able to get both? I don't know. I just thought it was a little weird how it was set up. And so people are going up there, they're putting, they're getting off the green. I mean, Danny uses her replay power on Memphis, and Memphis just totally crashes and burns because he doesn't want the HOH anyways. So it was pretty much of a waste of using the replay power. So then we move on to the final putter, and that is Cody that we get to see. And the scores at the moment were David was in the lead with 7 on the HOH side, which a little bit before David's turn, we saw Kevin get a 5 and then try to do something different and gets out of bounds, which I was screaming at my TV. I was like, oh my gosh, Kevin, why? Why would you try it again at 5? Just keep the 5. It was like the veto competition with the banana all over again. He could have locked in his answers and then it kind of just fell apart, and it was no, Kevin, why would you second guess yourself? Just get the 5 and be fine with it. But he went for it again, got out of bounds. David gets a 7. So coming into the final putt, David's in the lead for HOH with 7, and then Danny and Tyler are tied with 3 with 10K. Well, we know that Tyler and Danny are going to lock up with that 10K because Cody wasn't even looking at trying to get the money. He was looking for the power. We don't even get to see what he does on his second putt because we get the automatic results, and that should have been a dead giveaway that he was going to win HOH, and it didn't really matter at the end if Kevin would have kept his 5 or not because Cody got a 2. He got a 2. He got a freaking 2. So he locks up HOH, and Danny and Tyler split 10K, so they each got 5K, and we move on. And realistically, after Cody won HOH, I mean, the nominations were pretty much set. He was gonna nominate Kevin and David no matter what, but there's some floating around that maybe he would want to put up Christmas. Now, Nicole is getting uptight about wanting to put up Christmas because she doesn't think she would put her up. Well, Nicole, you're completely reading everything completely wrong because Christmas has already name dropped you in her diary rooms that she cannot trust you and she wants to take you out. I will say, right before the nomination ceremony, Kevin stood his ground. I loved that Kevin got into Cody's face and was like, kind of put him in his place. I really liked seeing that. And of course, it didn't even matter because Cody was going to nominate Kevin and want him as the target anyway. So I'm glad Kevin had to stand up for himself, stand up to Cody, stand up to the alliance, and it didn't even matter because he was going to be put up anyway. So I applaud Kevin for standing up to Cody, and the nominations end this episode with it being Kevin and David on the block. But that is it for this episode. What do you think about everything that went on? Let me know that in the comment section below. What do you think about the HOH comp? What do you think about Cody winning? And what do you think about his nominations? Let me know that in the comment section below. But now let's go into the live feed updates, and we're going to start off with the veto players, and that is Cody, David, Kevin, Enzo, Nicole, and Tyler. Of course, they played OTEV, where it came out that Cody won and David won $10,000. He says he's going to use that and donate it outside of this game, and that's why he went for $10,000. And people understood that, but a lot of people were very upset with that decision. Mainly Christmas, who was pissed. She wants to play Veto. She wants to play OTEV, and she was like kicking around her feet, pouting, and being like a little baby because she wanted to play, and David got to play, but David went for 10K instead of the veto, and that made her very upset that why even should he be even able to play? I should have been the one to play. It's like, girl, he's on the block. He can do whatever he wants. He can make his own decisions. Like, sit down, shut up. Not everything is about you. Dang, man. Like, she is so annoying. I'm sorry. But with Cody winning veto, I am 95% sure that the nominations will stay the same, and Kevin is 100% the target to get out this week. So this Thursday, the first person probably leaving this house is Kevin. Now, the rest of the stuff that's happening in this house is that lines are starting to be drawn within the committee. Splits and factions are happening. One side of the committee wants to take a shot at Christmas and wants to get her out. The same with Memphis. And the other side wants to take a shot at Danny. Enzo's pretty much in the middle, just chilling around, kind of like I could go either way on this. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. I think that this is going to get interesting after the first eviction on Thursday. And I'm not going to lie, David's in a really good spot, I have to say. I think that a lot of new threats and new targets and new people are coming up into light and rubbing people the wrong way, while David is kind of like chilling out, kind of just floating beneath the radar. Even though he's being put up on the block week after week after week, he's sitting pretty nice underneath the radar. And I feel as though that people are going to want to take a shot at each other before they're going to take a shot at him. And he could see himself getting into top 5 or even top 4 if he was able to maybe possibly align himself with one side of the committee and then start taking shots at the other side. He could find himself at top 5 and top 4, which is really, really impressive in my opinion, especially since the whole alliance is just been mowing down everybody until they get to David. So I would love to see him make it to Final 5 or Final 4 and see the committee just turn on themselves sooner rather than later. And I would love to see Christmas and Memphis just be taken out. But we have to wait and see what's going to happen. The veto ceremony is going to be later today, and then everything is going to come to a huge explosion come Thursday when we have that triple eviction. Flo, what do you think about the triple eviction? What do you think about people wanting to go after each other? Should they go after each other before they go after David, or should they keep the alliance line strong? Just one more vote. Let me know that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Big Brother content, more content in general. But until then, peace.